understand. There are many people who are in issues and situations in their lives, in their relationships, that the solution they need is just at the other end of calling out for help. But they don't know what to do, or they're not courageous enough to reach out. So, I mean, someone deciding to be this vulnerable to say, you know what, I need help, um, go on and bring up my concerns out there and let's find help. I think that's commendable. All right. So I hope that the person who sent in this message is listening in today, because yes, we would have a lot to share with you, and it's our desire that by the time we're done, you will be pointed in the right direction. All right. So yeah, I heard the situation you read out in the email, and okay, let me lay this foundation first, right? You see, many times the problems people experience in relationship, right? Many times it's not a real problem. Okay. Many times it's either a symptom or a consequence of what the real challenge is. Okay. So it's very important to be able to establish what the root causes are. In fact, this is one of the reasons you need a therapist. Because many times what you see out there, that manifestation that you have said, this is what is a problem. That thing can be what the real problem is. So in conversations like this, we help you dig deeper. We help you basically diagnose, all right, so that we can find out, there's a principle of root cause versus immediate cause, right? So there are some things that are occasioned by other things. But when you don't understand that it goes deeper than what is manifested as surface, all right, you'll be attending to what is that surface thing, and at the end of the day, it's not even solving what the real problem is. Now, how did I say this? Because the writer said that he mentioned two things I like to speak to. One is that he has a problem of staying long in a relationship.
Yes.
Staying long in a relationship, or not staying long, not being able to sustain a relationship in itself is not the problem. That thing that is playing out is the consequence, is the result of other things, other underlying situations, other experiences. To go further, I'll use some of the right words. I'm just trying not to start mentioning trauma now, okay? But I'm bringing it up already. But many times there are other underlying things that are responsible for this outcome. Okay, so I'll be asking some questions, and it will be good that if this person is here, you may not need to necessarily respond here on the show, but if you can, that will also be good. Basically, they are for you to introspect about, ask questions. I mean, this session is for you today. So just taking those questions I'm asking, and let's see if we can walk through the situations together.
All right.
So this is one of the reasons actually people need professional help.
Okay, Coach, quick one. Yeah, quick one. Before you get to the questions themselves, I wanted to know, because you started by talking about root cause and immediate cause. Have you been able to identify which stage he's in? Is he in a root cause stage or an immediate cause stage, or do you need those questions answered before we can talk about that? I just wanted to ask that quickly before you get into the questions.
Okay, well, professionally speaking.
Coach has entered professionally speaking.
I can just say off my head to a large extent that I won't be wrong, where the root of the matter is, right? That's why I said at the beginning that what he complained about, that is not the root, because that's like, those are like the leaves, when you plant and you see the leaves shooting out of the ground, those things that are shooting out of the ground, it's not all there is. They're only shooting out because there's a root that goes within the earth that is getting nutrients from the soil, and then those leaves can come out.
Okay.
Right? So this situation right now that he described is the consequence, or of a root that we're going to get to by the end of this conversation.
Great.
It's being equal.
Okay.
You understand? So yes, this one is just, like I said, it's either a symptom or it's a consequence, or in some cases it's both. All right. Now let me explain what I mean by that. Right? If it's a symptom when it's pointing to something, it's a consequence when it's a result of something. Sometimes it is both a symptom and a consequence. It is a result of something and it can be pointing to for other larger outcomes. So what could this be pointing to? The fact that if this person doesn't receive help, he'll most likely continue having failed relationships. And even if anyone struggles to get into marriage, they will have some issues in sustaining that marriage. You see, so it's a pointer to something, and at the same time, it is the result of some untreated things from history, which we're going to get into.
Okay, let's see if we can get there.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can get to those things. Yes,
right, that's fine. So I was saying that this is one of the reasons to answer the first question you asked me on the importance of therapy, where people can help you navigate certain situations in your life that you have become blinded to. Right? Now, there are certain things that are happening to you or in your life that you have come to accept as normal just because of how long it has stayed in your life, how long you have gotten so used to these things and you believe that this is how the world is. It was John Maxwell who said that people see the world the way they are, not the way it really is. All right? So at that point, you may be blinded from identifying certain things as being problematic in your life just because it is what you have been used to. So let me put it this way. Have you seen people complain about a particular behavior in another person? Maybe somebody who's rude. Somehow, everyone in that person's space has this opinion that this person is a rude person. But when you talk to the person, they tell you things like, no, me, I'm very gentle. I'm very polite. No, I treat people with respect. And everybody is wondering, hello, is it the same person that you know or someone else? Now, in many cases, what's happening is they are not aware that there are certain vibes they are giving off, which to them is just their natural or normal way of behaving. But those vibes come off to other people as offensive. You see? So the point I'm just making is that many times, if you're not open enough to be able to get that feedback from outside and then properly introspect, right? You may not even know that there is an issue here. I just remember something as I was saying this, and I don't know if to make that example. And let me just drop it by the corner. Many times, when someone's mouth has unfresh breath, right? When there's mouth odor, the owner of that mouth odor does not know that it's not smell. It's other people that are suffering it. Sometimes when you tell them that, they'll be angry. But the problem is not the anger. The problem is, if one or two persons have said this about me, perhaps I should just go check and see if there's something I could do to improve the situation. Anyway, enough of all of this foundations. Let me just get right into it. Okay, so what I was just establishing is that we need to find why those relationships really don't work. He also tried to give an answer. He said it's because when he doesn't get emotional support.
Yes. He says he can't stand it. Let me put it the way he said it.
Yeah.
His problem starts when he can't stand it when somebody is not emotionally supportive of him. That's what he said. And when he begins to notice, so he's two things. He said, I can't stand it when I notice people are not, ladies are not emotionally supportive of him. And then he goes ahead to say he starts to notice traces of contempt. So there are two things there that we're hearing. What would make him, or first and foremost, what in his by his definition is emotional support, and what does lack of it show? And then secondly, he says contempt. So those are two things that he brought up.
Yeah, you see, I like that you're already getting the vibes on how our work goes. Okay, because you're asking the right questions. It's just that I'm not the one who's going to answer those questions, right? So if the listener is there, I want to ask those questions again. We need to understand what you mean by not being emotionally supportive. What does that term mean to you? I'm not saying you have to start answering all of these things. These are things you need to, in the quietness of your corner, sit beside yourself and just introspect and answer these questions. What does it really mean to you? The concept of being emotionally supportive, right? Because another challenge is that sometimes we don't even have the right word to express what we're really feeling, right? So what does it mean to you? I want you to be able to sit down and think it through and get to the root of that emotion or that feeling that made you say when they stop being emotionally supportive. Now, the way you put it also sounds like this has become a thing. Like it wasn't just one person, perhaps another, and then another. All right. So, what are the activities or the behaviors you consider as emotional support? What are those things that mean emotional support to you? Again, why do you interpret those things as emotional support? How does it make you feel? Follow my questions carefully. How does it make you feel? And how does the lack of it make you feel? It's good that you're able to articulate these things because we're going on a journey. And the way to get to this journey is by really answering these questions, right? Now, if this thing is something you have flagged as a recurring situation in your previous relationships, does it mean that all of these people are reading the same behavioral manual? That at some point in this guy's life, let's treat him like this. At some point in his life, let us just be nasty towards him. At some point, let us stop being emotionally supportive. Do you think the whole world is conspiring against you? Think about that for a bit. While you're thinking about it, let me help you also. That there's no way the whole world will be conspiring against you.
Well, actually, all the females in the world, because he says it affects him at work as well. So it's not just in relation. He can't relate to the women. Yeah.
Exactly. He mentioned even at the workplace. Okay. So follow my questions. Could it be that there was that said, hey, heads up, you see this guy, the mission for today is let's deprive him of emotional support. That cannot happen. Now follow my line of thought, because you see, many times we are quick to think that the things that are not working in our lives may be because of some other person's bad behavior. But if you follow my line of thought, you may see that at the end of the day, I'm bringing the conversation back to you. And I'm trying to understand and to help you understand what are the root causes that could make you think or make you needy of this level of support, to the point that you are very quick to notice when it looks like it's depleting or it's being deprived you, and then you have to run away. All right, because he also stated that he is the one who leaves immediately he notices that. These are all very significant points, right? So, still on those questions I was asking you, before I ask the next set of questions, let me lay a foundation. Now, from the moment a child is born into this world, that child comes in blank, innocent, right? You have no idea, no belief system, no value system, they're just blank. What begins to happen is that there is a programming without your consent that begins to subconsciously work on you. And that programming is done by some very fundamental factors, one of which is your upbringing. By your upbringing, we're talking about your parenting. Where were you born? How were you born? Where did you grow up? What happened in the home where you grew up? Did you grow up with your parents? What kind of relationship was it? What kind of relationship did you have with your parents? Right? Did you have siblings? Are you an only child? Are you a first child? Are you a last child? If you're an only child, or are you an only child or the only male among other female children, right? Now, all these are very significant at the end of the day in impacting on your emotional development, right? So what kind of relationship did you have with your parents? Or did you have a relationship with your parents? Was it a monogamous marriage or was it a polygamous marriage, right? Now, all of these questions, if you're answering them right, it's taking us somewhere, because ultimately, don't forget I told you we have to find the roots. And then I'll tell you why I'm asking all of these in just a bit. What kind of marriage was it? You see, people need to understand that your emotional disposition to a large extent is determined by the first set of influencers in your mind. And to a very large degree, that is the people that are responsible for your domestication. Generally, your parents, or primary guidance if you didn't grow up with your parents. You see, so when people start behaving in a way in adulthood, many times some of those behaviors could be triggers off of certain foundations that were laid in childhood that they did not even know was doing anything to them. Again, this is why therapy is important. Okay, so still on the questions, what kind of relationship existed in the home? Was there love? Was there shared ownership? Was there mutual support? Was there friendship among yourselves? I'm saying all the nice things. What about the flip side? Was there separation in the home? Was it chaotic? Did you grow with both parents? Did you feel abandoned at some point? Did you feel rejected at some point? Did you grow up understanding what true love is, getting the support of family members, or did you have to figure out everything by yourself? All right. Why are we talking about all of this? Because if your parents were available, you see, there's what we call attachments, right? And there are secure and insecure attachments. Now, what happens is that the way a child is raised is what if what he's experiencing at that stage is a secure attachment, which is healthy, or if it's an insecure attachment, which is unhealthy for the emotional development of the child. So in this case, growing up, all right, what was it like for you? Did you feel seen? Did you feel heard? Did you feel comfort at home? Right? What we're doing right now, it would really have been good if we could get the answers, right? Because all of these answers will lead us to other deeper questions. But I mean, this is what it is. Let's just work with it like this, right? Let me know if you want to say something, because I could just go on and on.
Okay, let me come in there. First and foremost, I can assure you that he's listening, and if he isn't at this time, because I did follow up after he sent in the email, and if he's not listening at this time, it's probably because of a network issue or something, but he would definitely be willing to answer some of these questions. It may not necessarily be online real time, but he would definitely answer these questions, and then we'll see about maybe a follow-up session where either he's able to call in directly or find some way. So the challenge is he has decided that he wants to remain anonymous. So there's that thing of, if I call in, they might recognize my voice. Yes. So, but there's definitely going to be feedback after this our session here. But here's the thing I want to say, maybe to sort of draw it in a bit, so that it doesn't look like we're leaving here with more questions and answers, and we're just, casting the net out and hoping to catch some sort of an understanding of who this person is. He did say something towards the end of his message, and what he said is that some people have said, and when he says some people, it's it could be family members. I'm presuming that when he says some people, it's people that he respects enough or he honors enough to be able to hear what their opinion is and bring it into this conversation. It may be family members, it may be other people who are close to him, maybe some of his guys at work or something. But he said, some people have said the reason why he's having this much difficulty is because he reads too much into things. I feel that kind of gives us some idea of who he is in his mental space right now. I don't know if we can draw enough inferences from his background to tie into that, but he has said people have told him that one of the reasons why he's having this much difficulty is because he reads a lot into situations. So do you think maybe that can help us sort of tie this in and, get the conversation to a reasonable point? Yes.
Okay. Funny enough, it's connected to everything that we're doing. And then I also want to say that, you see, these questions at the end of the day are not leaving him hanging, actually, because this is the path to recovery. This is the path to healing. What happens many times is that some people think that when you come for therapy, we just bamboozle you with wisdom. Just blow your mind and you're like, wow, I never knew this. Many times at the end of the day, it's a guided session, all right? And through interrogating these questions, we're guiding you through a line of thought, through a belief change pattern. And then many times at the end of the day, people find by themselves what the solution is and what the next step is going to be, right? So I just wanted to put that there. But you see that point about liking book too much.
Liking book?
Like that he read book now, right? That was what you said.
No, that he reads a lot into things. So let me. How do I describe? So
was that how?
Yeah, that's what he says. That people said he reads a lot into things. So he has a way of reading too much meaning. So somebody says hello, he would sort of try and find the deeper meaning into the hello. I think that's what he was saying there.
Okay, I'm trying to quickly refer to that email because that was not the understanding I got. But let me just see.
Okay.
Okay, he said I read too much. Okay.
Is well.
Okay, we'll answer it both ways.
Okay, let's do that. We'll
answer it both ways. All right. Yeah, we'll answer it both ways.
Okay.
Now, for the one you said
Yes.
about reading meanings. Okay. Let me just continue my flow because everything will bring us back there.
Okay.
Why am I saying that? Your behavior is influenced by these fundamental things I was explaining about. So if he's that kind of person who is quick to read meanings into things, and then those meanings are disempowering, there is a reason for that. There is something that has happened in his past that is causing him to be able to see this skewed version of life that's making him feel like someone is about to hurt me. Why is that person behaving like this? You see, and all of these what we call, in many cases, childhood trauma. When we speak about childhood trauma, take note that we're not just talking about things that happen to you as a baby, or sometimes this could be things that happen up to age 18. All right, and sometimes people think trauma is just that big thing everybody can see that happened in your life. Oh, somebody broke up with you. There was a situation with the parents at home. Oh, yes, it's that thing that is out there and everybody can relate to it. Many times, something about our programming is in itself traumatic to our future.
Can you give a quick example, Coach? Just a quick example.
Oh, yes, I definitely would do that.
Okay.
Imagine growing up in a home where there was no love. You practically had to always stand for yourself, always fight for anything you got. Yes, you had siblings, but it was always rivalry. You had parents in the house, but all their own was to just pay the rent and pay your school fees, and the rest of you sort out yourself. Like, what else? Now, you may think this is just growing up, like this is just the unique case in our home, but you're going to discover that follow that person into adulthood, that same behavior is still there because something has been ingrained in his subconscious. You see, all of those experiences were creating neural pathways in his brain that he didn't know about.
Okay.
Now, this person as an adult is going to always be on the edge. He's going to always be on the offensive. He's going to always think someone is trying to hurt them. So you have to be smart. Have you seen people who are just unnecessarily smart? Have you seen people who just lie over nothing? Because all through their life, they have always had to survive on playing someone else to get something out of the other person. They always had to survive like that because of the experiences they had growing up. You see, so that is the kind of program. That's just an example. I can go on and on. How about a young girl who, for example, always witnessed her father brutalize the mother, who saw the mother never having an opinion? How about that person who grew up in the house where she had a brother, but every time she was taught that he's a boy, he shouldn't do anything in the house. So you, the girl, go sweep, cook, go to market, do all that, and then the boy comes back and you serve him his food. What do you think is being imprinted in that brain? Eventually, those are the kind of women or ladies who will grow up and date guys who will be abusive. Why? Because something in their programming has prepared them to just be of service. And not just service, service is even a good word, to be subjugated to the man. right? So my point is, those are some involuntary programming that are going on in childhood that many people don't understand is later going to affect them. So in this case, about this person who sent in the question, the point is, if we drill really deep, we might discover that perhaps, I'm only saying perhaps because we don't have all the details, and perhaps there may be issues of rejection or abandonment at some point in his childhood.
Okay.
Right? This thing about emotional support, it's not just now it's starting. It's somehow something that he had always had to fight for. He had always been lacking, so he always needed to depend on people for that level of validation. Why? Because at some point it was not found in the home. So I was going to say something before about different kinds of insecure attachments that people could face. Sometimes it's because the parents are unavailable, completely unavailable and neglectful.
Are we talking emotionally unavailable, or which one specifically?
Oh, physically, emotionally. Oh yes, physically and emotionally. And that's very common in these days. I mean, they're working great jobs, so they're not suffering. Great jobs, this one is in one part of the world, the other is in the other part of the world. But the problem is they're not available for the emotional development, the wholesome emotional development of that child. So at the end of the day, the child, gets his immediate needs met, but his emotional needs are lacking. Like there is nobody to talk to. He has to call the dad says talk to a PA, or talk to your uncle, or talk to somebody. You can't reach them. That begins to create a void in that child's heart. All right? That's already creating a kind of insecure attachment in that child. So many times these children, kind of people, grow up becoming dismissive or avoidant. They don't want to get close to people. They don't believe everyone really cares for them. You see, it's something that grow up with is affecting their relationships. So in this case, maybe the parents were inconsistent with availability. They're here today, they're not there tomorrow. The child is confused. He doesn't. Are they supposed to be around? Like, I enjoy it when they're around, and that's what I'm about to enjoy it. I wake up one morning and out again. And there is this problem of emotional, what's the word now? Unavailability, and this child starts depending on any other available support from whoever is around. Maybe an uncle, an aunt, an elder brother, a neighbor. This is one of the reasons why some people start getting into relationships very early, because they are just looking for the next person who can be available to provide that emotional support. So you see why it's going to be an issue when at the end of the day, because something about not having that level of support as a child, and now it has become offensive to him. He grows up expecting that if I say I'm dating somebody, this person has to be there for me. This person has to provide this level of emotional, whatever it is that it means to that person. All right, this person has to provide this level of availability for me. And then when that person is not doing it, it triggers something. It triggers the same emotions he used to feel as a child when the parents were not there, when that support was not there. And then it makes the child want to just run back to their shell. So you see, another thing is that people always having to withdraw, to end the relationship. Many times, what is actually playing out there is that it's their own defense mechanism.
Okay.
It has become a survival mechanism. They're trying to protect themselves from hurt. That may be what is playing out in this case. So he looks at you and he says, why are you beginning to behave like this? You are no more supportive. And then it triggers that memory that, no, I don't want to go through that hurt again. I don't want to put myself in the place because I'm not getting this emotional support. I can't function anymore. So you cut every other person out. You see, at the end of the day, what's happening there is that it is trauma that is speaking through that experience.
Okay, a quick question, Coach Mayzy. Is it off, just going by the definitions that you've given and the explanation you've given, is it off kilter to say that if someone experienced that kind of trauma, that it shouldn't only play out when it comes to his relationship with the opposite sex? Shouldn't it affect all relationships he has, even with, people of the same sex as him. Why is it particularly towards the females in his like coming to his life and also extending towards his female colleagues at the office?
Okay, very good question. A number of reasons could be responsible for that. One is that many times we tend to tilt towards the person, occasion that caused that trauma. So in this case, if the mom or the significant females in his life were unavailable, if they caused that hurt as a result of withdrawing or not providing emotional support, if he was betrayed by someone that, he held in such dear esteem, a lady, it will hit much deeper than just any other person. Because what's happening is they are the ones, the ladies in his life will be the ones that will be triggering those experiences. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why it's the ladies. Now, another reason is because, you see, emotional relationships or romantic relationships, as it were, between the guy and the girl, is that thing that makes you, that addresses the deepest part of your heart. It opens your vulnerability, right? Like I say, people can't necessarily hurt you from afar. It's when you open yourself up to someone really closely that certain little things they do begin to have, severe meanings, right? So because you have opened up yourself to someone emotionally, and many times it's a member of the opposite gender, right? That is why that hurt has the level of impact that it does. I mean, typically, guys don't open up themselves to fellow guys like that. Like, how you go hurt me? We go cuckoo quarrel now. Go quarrel, go insult your head, insult your papa, insult your mama. Oh yeah, eat your food, those kind of things, right? And for guys, but that's because we have not opened the real spot of our hearts to you. Many times that part is reserved for the one you want to be romantically involved with. So when you expect a measure of performance from that person and it's not coming, that's where the hurt is.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's see if we can take some listener reactions in the next 5 minutes or so, and then come back and tie up the conversation together. So I have a few messages here. I see you on Facebook. I see you, Emperor Malinga Audu. Thank you for the compliment. Also, Francis Namani watching live from Amagunze in Enugu State says, "Good evening, Somi. Tonight's topic is very interesting. Keep up the good work." And then I have Augustine Ogagbo, who says, "I suffered inferiority complex from my youthful age, and that automatically turned me to an introvert. This affected my relationship with the opposite sex until I became almost 40 before I eventually married. I'm not happy. Do you think I need psychotherapy?" I'm going to need you to think on that one, Coach Mayzy, and then let me take this call and then we can answer Augustine. Hello?
Hello,
yes, hi. Good evening. Okay, Donatus with the question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Is it possible for two partners?
Donatus?
Hello?
Yes, so could you move away from your phone a bit so we can hear you clearly?
Is it possible for two partners to end the relationship the way they started? They love themselves, the rest of them, they go apart. Is it possible? If yes, what is it?
I'm so sorry, Donatus. I can't make out your words clearly.
Hello?
Yes, you said, is it possible for what?
Is it possible for two partners to end their relationship the way they start, to get go apart? Let me say from the age of 30 something to 90. This works smoothly for them. You understand? The way they do things, they love themselves, and the rest of them to get those apart. Is it possible? And if yes, what is the secret?
Coach Mayzy, did you catch that? Because I didn't quite make out what he said.
Hello?
Yes, Donatus, hold on. I'm trying to get Coach Mayzy. Coach Mayzy, did you hear what he said? Okay. All right. Donatus, let's try it again. Call in again. Ask your question. Even Coach didn't quite hear you, okay? I know you were saying something about two people in a relationship. I heard you say 8 years, but the rest of it was... Then we can see if we can bring them on the couch. Okay, so let's get your responses.
I can't even believe that our time is already almost.
I know, right? well, we're on streaming till about 12:15. After the stream, we'll see if we can push it for a bit further. But we have another give or take 17 minutes here on the live stream. So go ahead, please.
Okay, that's very good. So let's move to with that. So let me just try and wrap up these thoughts. Basically, all I'm saying to the person who sent in that message was that it's beyond people. It's beyond ending your relationship just because you feel you're not getting emotional support or people are treating you with contempt. What we actually need to do is to find out why you feel that way about those treatments, why you interpret contempt the way you do, why you interpret emotional support the way you do, why it has the kind of impact it has on you. And what I have basically said so far is we need to narrow down to certain experiences from your upbringing. So what I want you to do is, if you heard those questions I asked, I'd like you to, think through those questions. I could even ask some more, starting with your earliest memories. See what you can make out of the relationship you had with your parents or caregivers. Were they available? Were they responsive? Were they neglectful? Were they entirely emotionally unavailable? Because sometimes they are physically there, but emotionally not there. So there's a disconnect, right? Now, think about all of that. And then ultimately, what you need to know is that something about your self-concept has been affected by those experiences. So now you are quick to think that a particular treatment you're getting from someone is contempt. Do you know that people cannot treat you with contempt without your approval? Let me put it like this. Yes, let me say it in another way. People cannot embarrass you without you accepting the embarrassment. In other words, the effect that contempt will have on you or that embarrassment will have on you is simply the acceptance that you give it. So, if people refuse to respect you and you say, "Oh, I'm really not worth anything good. Can't you see nobody even respects me? See how they speak to me," right? What's happening now is that their actions or behavior towards you is now impacting on you because you have opened yourself and accepted that same line of thought about yourself. But if in a place where people don't think highly of you, but you think highly of yourself, what would you do? You just shove it off as well. They're lost, they're up here. And it has that impact on you. So that's what I mean when I say people can treat you with contempt without your approval. They may talk to you the way they like, but what if that is their problem, not yours? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So the reason you're interpreting what they are serving you as contempt is because you are already seeing yourself with contempt. You are already agreeing that this area of you is not good enough, is not worthy enough. They don't like me, they won't like me. I see what's happening. And many times while you are serving that level of self-defeatism to yourself is deeply rooted in certain experiences you have had that have influenced your self-concept. To think that you're not good enough, to think that you have to depend on people for emotional support, to think that without this support from these people, you cannot move on, you cannot achieve your goals, you can't be validated. But what I'm trying to say to you is that you need to take time to introspect and actually identify the root causes, identify where those significant emotional experiences started happening in your life. Now, while you're at that, you also want to commit yourself to knowledge, to acquiring knowledge. I'm saying this over and over again, because it means the walk to true transformation. You need to empower yourself with knowledge. You want to start learning about your self-concept. You want to start learning about that kind of trauma you went through and how to overcome it. Because we can't say all of that in just this one day show, right? So you want to start applying yourself. It's in that process of applying yourself that even when you're consulting with a therapist, right, you would begin to find more value. You'll begin to understand the path that the therapist is towing.
Okay.
You begin to relate with the journey, because this thing is a journey. It's not a magic wand. They just wave over you and take it now. It's done. No, it's not that.
Okay.
You understand? So it's a journey.
All right. Two quick things, Coach Mayzy, on this. First and foremost, when you say apply yourself to knowledge, there's a lot to learn. If, say, for some reason, Anonymous decides to come and continue on this journey next week, Tuesday, maybe get a little more involved in the conversation, answer some questions and all of that, where should what kind of knowledge will he be looking to acquire that would help him come back and maybe we have a more productive session by Tuesday? Because when you just say knowledge as a broad, there's a lot to learn. So should he be learning about himself? Should he be learning about his background growing up? Should he be learning about the opposite sex? Which area, first and foremost, should he look at?
Very good question. Very good question. First, self-awareness. First, he wants to learn about why he behaves the way he does. He wants to learn about his temperament. He wants to learn about the events that have occasioned those behaviors. These things are very foundational, because what happens, like I said earlier, is people are attending to the leaves, to the shoots, but there is a root that so long as that root is still being fed by those nutrients, right? Whatever you're doing out there is not the permanent solution. The leaves will keep growing, the shoots will keep growing because the root is still being fed, right? So you want to be able to learn about yourself. You want to go back and interrogate the experiences you had as a child. All right. Now, the truth is there are interventions for this. I'm saying paid interventions, right? You want to go back and interrogate those experiences. At what age did certain things start becoming different for you? At what age do you remember? At what point do you remember that you started feeling this way? What were the activities that happened then? When did you start feeling when did you enjoy emotional support? At what stages of your life did you enjoy this support? Or have you even ever enjoyed it? When did things change? Right? And then you want to now read about it or watch videos about it. Watch videos about how you're upbringing, about how trauma, can affect people, in their later stages of life. So those are the things I mean when I'm saying go for knowledge.
Okay.
Right? And one thing I've discovered in relationship counseling over the years is that there are so many people who want quick fixes. Like, I don't have the time to apply myself to that. That's why I'm talking to you. Just tell me what to do. And I'm telling them, no, it's not like that. Because what you're dealing with is something that has taken years of your life to form.
Okay.
It's not going to disappear over some inspirational session. Do you understand? The way to undo all of those things that you have gathered through the years is to apply yourself to new information about that thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm saying get knowledge. I'm saying knowledge that is what's the word now? With respect to the issue on ground, with respect to your trauma, with respect to your challenges. All right. You know, I asked some questions like, what does emotional support really mean to you?
Yeah.
You may want to go introspect and go check out what the word really means. Because, you know, you're going to check that. Those are areas of knowledge acquisition I mean.
Okay.
Right? And then, of course, I will always say, look for a therapist, a professional counselor, or a therapist around you that you can speak to, a coach that you can speak to, right? Because part of the things we would do is to be able to dig into your belief system and then, if need be, re-engineer or do a beliefs change. Because at the end of the day, what you believe is what you attract into your life. I mean, you can take this to the bank.
Okay.
If you believe that people will not be nice to you, if you believe that people will have reasons to treat you with contempt, in your next relationship and the next one and the one after that, you will be treated with contempt. Guess what? Not because they are necessarily treating you with contempt, but because it has become a state of your consciousness, something they will do that is contempt, you will interpret it. Why? Because those are the lenses you're putting, and it will affect how you're seeing the real world.
All right, Coach. Thank you for answering that. I said two things, so let me quickly get to the second one, and then we will have to bring this stream to a close very quickly. Is it possible that someone could have grown up in a healthy environment, you know, not experiencing any of the traumas or conditioning, or if at all there was conditioning, it was the healthy kind, and still come out feeling like this and having these issues?
Oh yes, it's possible actually. Even though I mean, that's those cases are minimal for this kind of people, right? But it's possible. Why is it possible? Again, the human being is grammar is failing me right now. Let me rephrase that.
The human being is.
You see, every day in your life opens you up to new emotional experiences, basically, right? So you are in a state of constant engagement or interacting with situations and people and events that are, as it were, attacking your equilibrium. Let me put it like that. All right. So what's important is that even though you had a wholesome upbringing, how well are you committed to your mental and personal development even now? Because guess what? You could have been a high flyer all your life. You could have been a great guy all your life. But at the point where you got a job, you met this impossible and difficult boss who made you feel like you were of no value at all. And guess what? It can actually deplete your self-esteem.
Okay.
What happened to all the great praises you've been achieving? You've been the first in your class from primary school all the while. What happened is that even at this point, life has come with a test on your, as it were, self-concept. You see, so the fact that all of those things were good way back, I mean, what about people who had it all good and then experienced one heartbreak that turned their lives around negatively, right? So yes, it's possible that you could have a good upbringing and a wholesome upbringing, but then that's an automatic insulation from the issues of life. This is why you must be deliberately committed to your personal growth, to your emotional development, all right, to capacity building, to healthy relationships, to healthy environments. You cannot relax. It's a lifelong, I want to call it battle, but it's a lifelong reality that you have to keep dealing with. If not, situations will come that will, as it were, test the capacity of your self-concept.
Okay.
All right. And at that point, you don't want to be found wanting.
All right. Okay, I have less than 3 minutes to wrap this up before I have to go on a break. So quick thoughts, because as we wrap up, Coach Mayzy, I want to see if we can tie it in for, well, if we haven't done that already, so that we can get to some of the comments. Augustine Oga Agbo sent in a message about inferiority complex and how it has turned him into an introvert. He is married now, but he says he's unhappy. But let's see if we can tie that up. Tie up the conversation that we already have on ground in the next 2 minutes, and then we'll go on a break and we'll come back and look at Augustine's comment. Would that work?
Oh, okay. So basically, what I want this person to do is, I've said so many things, but know that it begins with you. You need to take responsibility for your self-development. You need to take responsibility for it, right? So I've said self-awareness is something that cannot be overemphasized. You want to go back and introspect, all right? Identify where these things started from. Another thing you want to know is that, see, all of those things that happen to you are not your fault, all right? Nobody's trying to say you're one terrible person right now. So you need to get that self-blame and all that self-defeat away from the equation right now. Those things that happened were not your making. You did not determine them. You did not cause them. Even if your parents treated you badly because they said we never wanted you and you just showed up. You are that child that we never expected. You came by mistake. And then all those kind of words that they have spoken to you have made you feel like you are responsible for their woes. But there are cases where parents have said that, it was when this child was born that things became bad for us. You brought bad luck. Things like that. You have grown up hearing those kind of words. Listen, it was not your doing and it was not your fault. So you need healing from that first. You need to also know that right now you are responsible for what the next trajectory of your life will look like. All right? And that is why I said you have to now seek to empower yourself with knowledge.
Okay.
Right? Self-awareness, very key. And then take responsibility. Take responsibility. Tell yourself, okay, I want to be better than this. I don't want this issue to continue beyond how far it has come in my life. There was a point in that email where he said people are asking him about marriage and all that. There's no woman in your life. Listen, that's not what you need right now. Because if you don't get to the root of this issue, and then you think I just need to get married because of my age, you may get married and the same issue will come up in the marriage. And then because you have trained yourself every time this thing comes up to walk away, right, which is an avoidance, which is like a mask, right, you would find yourself wanting to walk away from that marriage. Has that solved the problem? No, it hasn't. So you have to be determined to take responsibility for getting yourself out of this situation by empowering yourself with knowledge, digging deep into what could be the sources or the origin of all of this trauma, all right, so that you can heal from it. Okay. And then I'll always say, speak with a therapist.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach Mayzy. We have to go on a quick break, and I hope we have been able to touch on a lot of issues as sent in by Anonymous. But we'll be right back to continue the conversation after this break. Do stay with 95.1 Nigeria Info.
Thank you.
This is Nigeria Info.